Now to Afghanistan, where the Taliban appears to have cemented its control of the entire country. The group's spokesperson says fighters have captured the Panjshir Valley, the last pocket of resistance against its rule. And a new government is expected to be announced soon. Markets across Afghanistan have reopened. While for some it's business as usual, others are struggling to survive under the country's new rulers. Mobin Nasir reports.
Walking around with wads of US dollars, euros and Pakistani rupees, the currency dealers of Kabul's Shehzada market are the go-to source of foreign exchange in the country. While banks have struggled to meet the demands of their customers since the Taliban's takeover, this bazaar has sprung back to life.
The market has returned to normal. The money dealers are back. The dollar is slightly lower than its previous price, but the situation is normal and people are happy.
Until a few weeks ago, troops from the Afghan National Army had provided security here. Now the Taliban has consolidated its control over this and other markets, and the group says it's eager to re-establish stability and help people get back to work.
If anyone is robbed or abducted, they should hand the matter to us. God willing, their problems will be resolved. That is our duty.
But not all businesses are thriving under the group's more conservative policies. Ayub Siddiqui, who sells bridal dresses, says he's receiving veiled threats.
They told us to remove pictures and mannequins saying they're idols. Now we are putting up curtains outside the shop. We don't know what to do or where we'll end up.
Other merchants say that while the security situation has improved, there are just not enough buyers.
Most of the people are unemployed. Shopkeepers have a lot of goods, but there are no buyers. People are selling their furniture to feed themselves.
Decades of conflict have left the economy in shambles. Millions of people are unemployed and almost half the population lives below the poverty line. The Taliban says it will announce an inclusive government soon, but state coffers are empty, and without international support or formal banking institutions, the revival of Afghanistan's economy may rely more heavily on informal sources like the currency dealers of Kabul. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, Nafay Choudhury joins us now from Cambridge in the UK. He is a research fellow at the Afghan Institute for Strategic Studies. He's also a Jeremy Haworth Research Fellow at the University of Cambridge. Good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, in the wake of the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, we immediately saw queues lining up for banks which were running out of money. Food prices soared because of the lack of foreign and hard currency reserves. Can you just tell us more about the current state of the Afghan economy in the wake of the Taliban's takeover?
Thank you very much for having me. Now, with any conflict, right away you're going to have an immediate choking off and closure of the economy. So first of all, people are very uncertain as to what's going to happen in the current days. So there's a lot less spending that's going on. A lot of jobs are simply not opened, and we know that in a lot of the ministries, people haven't gone back to work. And most importantly, in the case of Afghanistan, a lot of the funds that the central bank has in its reserves have been frozen, and the country very much depended on this money to pump funds into the economy and allow for government spending. So what we have at the moment is very little cash circulating the economy, and a lot of people possibly going to work or not, but really not getting their salaries, and it's creating a chokehold on the entire economy. Last time I talked to a colleague in Kabul, he had told me the price of gas had doubled, and as a taxi driver, this was deeply concerning as he was not able to make ends meet.
Yes, but we are seeing today some semblance of normality return to Afghanistan. We heard there that the country's biggest money exchange market, the Sarai Shahzada, reopen. Banks are also starting to reopen. Can you firstly explain to us how important the Sarai Shahzada is? You wrote an interesting piece in Foreign Policy recently about that very exchange market. Explain to us how crucial that is for business in Afghanistan.
So you're right to say that the country is slowly, and I would say very cautiously, opening up, and you really cannot understand the economy and especially the banking and financial sector unless you understand Sarai Shahzada, the money exchange market that you just mentioned. Now, this market has been in operation since the 1950s, and inside it you have money exchangers, and they've been in the country for 2 centuries, quite a bit longer. Now, these money exchangers are individual actors that essentially operate as mini credit unions. So they're providing all types of services from exchanging money, providing savings, sending money to different areas of the country and the world, sending and receiving, and even providing loans to traders and businesses that might need it for their running their businesses or importing and exporting goods. And so it plays a very crucial role in the way that the economy operates. Now, we have to remember that in terms of people who are banked in the country, we're not looking more than 10 to 20%. So a lot of people are looking for less formal sources when they're less formal and less regulated sources when they have monetary needs. And that's why they turn to these informal or quasi-formal money exchangers. And Sarai Shahzada, the money exchange market that you mentioned, is pretty much the center of all of these activities in Kabul and in Afghanistan. So you have hundreds of millions of dollars that are moving through this market a day, and they're providing funds and allowing for businesses and individuals to meet their individual needs. Just to give you an idea of the scale of activity in this market, before the fall of the Taliban in 2019, the volume of loans provided by banks was in the order of $500 million. In that same period, the volume of loans in this market in Kabul was $2 billion. So it's a fourfold volume of loans being provided. And this is only one of the markets. You have markets throughout the city and throughout Afghanistan. So we can see just in terms of the loans it provides, and it does many other services, such as providing informal money transfers. And that's how a lot of people across the world are able to transfer money to their families and to people they support in the country. A lot of this is happening through these money exchangers. And so whether the government, whether the country is facing difficulty or not, these exchangers are able to find opportunities, one, for opportunities which are financially beneficial for themselves, and two, to lubricate the economy so that demands are meeting needs and people's lives are able to get back into somewhat of a state of normalcy. So this is kind of that juncture that we're seeing, that the banks are a bit frozen at the moment because the funds that were because funds that have been frozen by the American government and international institutions remain frozen, and the banks very much depend on this. Otherwise, they're not able to access the central bank reserves and provide money in their own coffers. So that's what we're seeing at the moment.
That's really interesting. Nafay Choudhury, thank you so much for explaining that to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.